Be two women seated behind President Biden.
There will, yeah. Of course, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and then the President of the Senate, Vice President Kamala Harris. So a lot of things to note as we approach the speech tonight. And joining us now with more on the importance as well, we've got Professor Donna Crane, who teaches political science at San José State University. We appreciate you joining us this morning with your perspective as we try and navigate our way through the new political reality in Washington.
So thanks for joining us. And what do you expect out of Nancy Pelosi tonight? Probably not going to be doing this after the speech.
I expect that Nancy Pelosi may be framing this speech instead in her office. I think she's going to be very enthusiastic about it. This is very consistent, of course, with her ideology.
So when we look at the balance of power in Congress, the president is going to need, obviously the support of the majority of lawmakers there. What's the likelihood he's going to be able to attract any Republican votes to make this thing as bipartisan as he'd like it to be?
I think it's very unlikely that he will attract any Republican votes. The parties these days are pretty definitely split. I just don't think there's any political incentive for Republicans to go along with a plan like this. There is an interesting question, though. Now there's this new procedural opportunity for him. It's possible he may be able to pass this plan through what's called the reconciliation process, which only takes 50 votes in the Senate. So there's breath of life in this plan, shall we say.
Interesting. Well, it's tough because there are things in this bill that I'm sure there are some Republicans and Democrats that are kind of unsure that would benefit their local constituents. But you say there's just no incentive to even try and find some sort of middle ground compromise?
Right. It's a really interesting dilemma, and it's one that America has been moving towards for the last few years. These provisions in this plan are actually very popular with the public. And as popular as they are, the funding mechanisms are even more popular. The idea of rolling back some of the Trump tax cuts is wildly popular with the public. But the issue is that the elected officials have structural incentives not to go along, right? Republicans in particular, are all in a panic of being primaried. They're all afraid of incurring the wrath of the Trump base. And so that holds them together in opposition to almost anything that the Democrats propose these days.
What do you tell your students to look for when they're watching a speech like this?
Oh, I'm afraid that I tell them sort of the funny insider things. I tell them to look for how many applause lines there are. Back in the old days, there used to be members of Congress who would go down to the floor to get the seats right by the aisle, like that morning, and they would sit there and work all day so they could shake the president's hand. I tell them to look for those kinds of things. But I also, on a substantive note, I tell them to listen specifically to what the president's saying and also to listen to the tone.
The tone, that's going to be important. I imagine it's going to be a conciliatory one by President Biden, who really touts his empathy. He's probably going to talk about personal reasons why things like health care and those sorts of things that are in these health infrastructure portions of the bill are important. Do you think he's going to try and do that, play more of the heartstring approach?
I do. Of course, one of the things we know about politics is that policies sell better when they're talked about, when they're sold on a values level, right? Not a litany of facts. So Biden is experienced with this as a seasoned politician, and also one who comes to his job from a place of empathy rather than sort of technical expertise. So I would definitely expect to hear him talk about this investment in human capital from a values point of view. And if he has good speechwriters, and I think he does, also to throw in some compelling personal anecdotes. That helps to back up the values content.
All right, we'll be watching carefully and closely, and thank you very much for that perspective.
Thanks so much.
You bet. And we will have complete coverage, by the way, of the president's address to Congress tonight. We actually have a special episode of Inside California Politics, which we will stream right after the president's speech. So you'll want to join Catherine Heenan. She'll be talking with three of our political analysts. You see their pictures on the screen: Michael Yockey, Jonathan Madison, David McEwen. Again, all on KRON4. So make sure, if you haven't already, download the app.
It's very easy to do if you just point your phone right now at your TV screen, because we've got the QR code up here, and then the app will pop right up. All you have to do is hit download. It's free. We'll be right back.